Have you ever had a goal so important, yet you couldn't bring yourself to start? Have you ever waited for the right mood, hoping motivation would suddenly appear? Here's the truth. Success isn't built on how you feel. It's built on what you do when you don't feel like it. This is where the real battle is won or lost. Success isn't about chasing good feelings or waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about taking action, even when it's uncomfortable, even when every part of you wants to wait. The key is to push through resistance, overcome hesitation, and act despite your emotions. I once met a young man who couldn't understand why he wasn't progressing in life. He had goals, he had dreams, but nothing seemed to move forward. When I asked him what he did on the days he didn't feel like working, he said, "I wait until I feel motivated." And right there was his problem. He was letting his feelings control his actions. He was trapped by his moods, a prisoner of his emotions. But that's not how success works. Successful people don't wait to feel like it. They act regardless. They force themselves to move, even when it's hard. And that's what sets them apart from the rest. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But that's the price of progress. Yes, it's hard. It's uncomfortable. But let me ask you this. What's truly more painful? Pushing yourself to work when you don't feel like it, or living a life filled with regret and unfulfilled potential? Discomfort is the price of growth. It's the cost of achievement. If you refuse to embrace that discomfort, you're choosing to settle for far less than what you're capable of. Here's a little secret. The most successful people in the world don't always feel like doing what they do. The champion athlete doesn't always feel like training. The successful entrepreneur doesn't always feel like making calls. The best-selling author doesn't always feel like writing. But they do it anyway. They've trained themselves to act, no matter how they feel. They've built the discipline to push through resistance and get things done. Now, some of you might be thinking, "But Jim, I'm just not disciplined enough. I'm not motivated like that." Let me tell you something. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Think of discipline as a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you strengthen that muscle. You expand your ability to act through resistance. And here's the beautiful part. Over time, it gets easier. So he made a decision. He decided that from that day forward, he would write for just 1 hour every single day, whether he felt like it or not. The first few days were tough. His mind resisted, his body protested, and excuses flooded his thoughts. But he showed up anyway. Slowly, something started to shift. That 1 hour became a routine, and soon, he found himself writing with more focus and confidence. Weeks turned into months, and before he knew it, his book was finished. When people later asked how he did it, his answer was simple. "I stopped waiting to feel like writing. I just started writing." That's the secret. You can't wait for motivation. You must create it through action. Once you start, momentum takes over, and your feelings begin to follow your efforts. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I don't feel like it," remember this. Your future doesn't care how you feel right now. What matters is what you do next. He made a decision that every single day, no matter what, he would write for at least 1 hour. Some days, the words came easily. Other days, it felt like pulling teeth. But he stayed committed. And you know what happened? After a full year of consistent effort, of forcing himself to write even when he didn't feel like it, he finished his manuscript. But that wasn't the only result. He built a powerful habit of discipline, one that began to spill into every part of his life. He started eating better, exercising more, and finally pursuing the dreams he'd been putting off for years. You see, when you force yourself to work even when you don't feel like it, you're not just completing a task, you're shaping your character. You're developing discipline. You're becoming the kind of person capable of achieving great things. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about working yourself into exhaustion or ignoring your physical and mental well-being. It's about making a conscious choice to do what needs to be done, even when your emotions are whispering that you should take it easy. Your feelings won't always align with your goals or your values. Sometimes, the road to fulfillment runs straight through discomfort and resistance. Think of it this way. Every time you force yourself to take action when you don't feel like it, you're making a deposit in your success account. You're investing in your future, building the habits and character that will carry you to your goals. But every time you give in to your feelings and avoid what needs to be done, you're making a withdrawal from that account. Every time you give in to your feelings and avoid what needs to be done, you're making a withdrawal from your success account. You're reinforcing the habit of procrastination, training yourself to be a slave to your moods and emotions. Now, imagine this. For the next year, what if you consistently forced yourself to work on your most important goals, even when you didn't feel like it? What if you pushed through resistance, overcame inertia, and took action day after day, regardless of your feelings? Where would you be a year from now? How much closer would you be to your dreams? How much stronger would your discipline muscle become? The potential is enormous. The possibilities are limitless, but it all begins with a single decision. A decision to stop waiting to feel ready and start acting, no matter how you feel. I know it's not easy. It goes against human nature. We're wired to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. But here's the truth. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. Achievement lives on the other side of resistance. So, how do you actually force yourself to work when you don't feel like it? Let me share a few strategies that have proven effective over the years. First, start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Choose one goal, one task, one area that truly matters to you, and commit to working on it for just 15 minutes a day, no matter how you feel. You can do anything for 15 minutes, right? And here's the magic. Once you start, you'll often want to keep going beyond those 15 minutes. Second, create a routine. Your brain loves structure. When you do something at the same time every day, it becomes second nature. Habits are powerful. They bypass your emotions and make action almost automatic. That's why scheduling your most important work at the same time each day and sticking to it no matter what can completely change your productivity. Third, use the 5-second rule. When you know you need to do something but don't feel like it, count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move immediately. It stops your brain from overthinking and making excuses. Fourth, focus on the benefits. When you're struggling to start, don't think about the task itself. Think about why you're doing it, your goals, your dreams, the person you want to become. Let that vision pull you forward. Fifth, break it down. We often resist taking action because the task feels overwhelming. So, divide it into smaller, manageable steps. Focus on just the next move, not the entire journey. Sixth, use positive peer pressure. Tell someone about your commitment and ask them to hold you accountable. It's much harder to slack off when someone's expecting an update. Seventh, reward yourself. After you've done the work, especially when it was hard, give yourself a small reward. This teaches your brain to associate effort with positive reinforcement. Now, let's talk about something important, passion. Some of you might be wondering, but Jim, what about loving what you do? Shouldn't work be enjoyable? And you're absolutely right, passion matters. Enjoying your work is a gift. But here's the truth. Even when you love what you do, there will still be days when you don't feel like doing it. The most passionate writer still faces days when the words won't come. The most enthusiastic entrepreneur still deals with tasks they'd rather avoid. The most dedicated athlete still wakes up some mornings wishing they could stay in bed. Passion doesn't mean you'll always feel good. It means you keep going because you believe in what you're doing, even when it's hard. It's about pushing through the tough days because you know the effort will pay off. In fact, the ability to work when you don't feel like it is what makes passion sustainable. It's what transforms a hobby into a purpose and a dream into reality. Turning a passion into a career, a dream into reality, or a goal into an achievement. None of it happens by chance. Think about every great accomplishment in history. Do you believe it was achieved by people who only worked when they felt like it? Of course not. It was built by those who showed up day after day, who pushed through resistance, and kept moving forward even when they didn't want to. The Wright brothers didn't enjoy failing hundreds of times before their first flight, but they persisted. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't always feel ready to face hatred and danger, but he pressed on anyway. Every great inventor, leader, artist, and entrepreneur has had to force themselves to work when they didn't feel like it. And here's the truth. Once you develop that ability, the power to act regardless of emotion, you become unstoppable. You take control of your destiny. You gain a superpower most people never master. Because let's be honest, most people are slaves to their feelings. They let moods dictate their actions. They only move when inspired, motivated, or pressured. And that's why their progress comes in bursts, followed by long periods of stagnation. But when you learn to work even when you don't feel like it, you create consistency. And consistency, my friends, is the foundation of success in anything. It's not the occasional spark of motivation that builds greatness. It's the discipline of showing up, day after day, no matter what. Now, don't misunderstand me. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. Your emotions matter. They offer signals, valuable insights. Sometimes, when you don't feel like working, it's a sign. Sometimes when you don't feel like working, it's a sign that you truly need rest, or that you might need to reassess your direction. The key is learning to tell the difference between the resistance that comes from growth and the resistance that comes from exhaustion or misalignment. It's about developing the wisdom to know when to push forward and when to pause. But here's the truth. Most of the time, when you don't feel like doing something important, it's not because you need rest. It's because your brain is trying to protect you, to keep you safe, comfortable, and in familiar territory. Our brains are wired for survival, not success. They're designed to conserve energy, avoid risk, and stick to what feels safe. That instinct helped our ancestors survive in dangerous environments. But today, it often keeps us trapped in mediocrity. It holds us back from growth, from reaching our potential, from turning dreams into reality. That's why it's crucial to override that instinct, to push through resistance, to force yourself to act even when every part of you wants to retreat. And here's the irony. The more you do this, the more you'll start to enjoy the process. You'll begin associating effort with satisfaction, with the pride of knowing you showed up when it was hardest to do so. Over time, the resistance doesn't disappear, but it weakens. It becomes manageable, and you become stronger than the resistance itself. Now, think about this for a moment. Your goals, your dreams, the things you've been postponing. Think about the goals you've been postponing, the tasks you've been avoiding. What if, starting today, you committed to working on them for just 15 minutes a day, no matter how you feel? What if, for the next 30 days, you pushed yourself to take consistent action toward your most important goal, regardless of your mood or motivation? How much progress could you make? How much momentum could you build? Here's what would happen. You'd begin to see results, small at first, but real. Those results would fuel your motivation, strengthen your self-belief, and build your confidence. And as you keep forcing yourself to act, even when you don't feel like it, something remarkable happens. You start to change. You begin to see yourself differently. You're no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You're in control. You become the captain of your own ship. Success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become along the way. And when you master the ability to work despite your feelings, you transform into someone capable of achieving anything. You become resilient. You become disciplined. You become unstoppable. That, my friends, is true freedom. The freedom to chase your dreams, to accomplish your goals, to become the person you were meant to be. It's the freedom that comes from knowing your actions are guided not by fleeting moods, but by lasting values and purpose. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Jim, what about work-life balance? What about enjoying life? Those are valid concerns. This isn't about becoming a workaholic or grinding endlessly. This isn't about working yourself into the ground. It's about being intentional with your time and energy. It's about realizing that the path to a truly fulfilling life often runs through temporary discomfort and effort. Think about it. What brings greater satisfaction in the long run? Watching TV every night because you don't feel like working on your goals, or pushing through the resistance, making progress, and finally achieving them? Which feels more rewarding? Giving in to every fleeting impulse, or developing the discipline to do what truly matters to you? The ability to work when you don't feel like it doesn't take away from life's joy. It amplifies it. It gives you control over your time, your direction, and your destiny. It allows you to create a life on your terms instead of accepting whatever life hands you. Now, let's look at another crucial benefit of this principle. When you force yourself to work despite how you feel, you're not just building discipline. You're also building resilience. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from setbacks, to keep going when things get hard. And in today's fast-changing, uncertain world, that ability is more important than ever. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you develop. And you develop it by doing hard things, by facing challenges head-on, by pushing through when your mind tells you to stop. Each time you do this, you strengthen that resilience muscle. You prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort, that you can rise above resistance, and keep moving forward. When you learn to keep going even when you don't feel like it, something powerful happens. You build resilience. That resilience spills into every part of your life. It helps you handle stress more effectively, bounce back from setbacks faster, and adapt to change with greater ease. It makes you stronger, more capable, and far more confident. Think about the most successful people you know. Aren't they also some of the most resilient? They don't collapse at the first sign of difficulty. They don't quit when challenges arise. They keep going. They adapt. They find a way forward. And that's exactly what you're developing each time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it. The same resilience that allows you to persist, no matter what stands in your way. Now, let's talk about another essential element of this principle: consistency. Success in any area of life doesn't come from bursts of effort. It comes from consistent, sustained action over time. Think about building muscle. You don't get strong by hitting the gym once a month and lifting for hours. You get strong by showing up regularly, day after day, week after week. The same applies to everything you want in life. You don't become a great writer by writing only when inspiration strikes. You become one by writing daily, whether you feel inspired or not. You don't build a thriving business by working hard only when you're motivated. You build it by showing up every day and doing the work, no matter your mood. And here's the beauty of consistency: it compounds. Small, steady actions, repeated over time, create extraordinary results. Small, consistent actions lead to massive results. It's like the story of the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady truly wins the race. But here's the truth: consistency is hard. It's easy to give a burst of effort once in a while, to feel excited for a moment and then fade away. The real challenge is showing up day after day, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. That's why the ability to work when you don't feel like it is so essential. It's what makes consistency possible. It's what allows you to keep showing up, keep putting in the effort, and keep moving forward even when motivation fades or results don't come right away. And let me tell you, my friends, that's where the magic happens. That's where you separate yourself from the crowd. That's where real, lasting transformation begins. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Jim, what if I burn out? What if I push myself too hard? Those are valid concerns. But understand this. This isn't about running yourself into the ground. It's not about ignoring your physical or mental health. It's about developing the strength to override your short-term emotions when they don't serve your long-term goals. It's about doing what's truly important, not just what feels easy or convenient. And here's the irony. Once you master this, you're actually less likely to burn out. Why? Because you're no longer wasting energy in an inner battle between what you should do and what you feel like doing. You become aligned. You find your rhythm. And when you're in that state of flow, consistency becomes effortless. When you make steady progress toward your goals, something amazing happens. You feel energized. You feel fulfilled. That satisfaction fuels you to keep going, creating a powerful cycle of momentum. Now, let's talk about another vital benefit of forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it. It builds self-trust. Every time you make a promise to yourself and follow through, even when it's difficult, you strengthen that trust within. Think about it. If you had a friend who constantly made promises but never kept them, how much would you trust that person? Not much, right? The same principle applies to your relationship with yourself. When you consistently do what you say you'll do, when you honor your commitments, no matter how you feel, you start to see yourself differently. You begin to believe in yourself more deeply. You become someone dependable, someone capable of achieving great things. And that self-trust? It's priceless. It gives you confidence, courage, and the boldness to set bigger goals and face greater challenges, because you know you can rely on yourself to follow through. But the opposite is also true. When you constantly give in to comfort or avoid the hard work, you chip away at that trust. You begin to doubt your own reliability, seeing yourself as someone who can't stay consistent, someone ruled by emotion instead of purpose. So every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just completing a task, you're making a deposit into your self-trust account. And that investment will pay off for the rest of your life. Each time you follow through on your commitments, you strengthen your belief in yourself. Over time, that faith compounds into unshakable self-confidence, one that serves you in every area of life. Now, let's talk about another key benefit of this principle. It sharpens your decision-making muscle. Every time you choose to work when you don't feel like it, you're making a decision. You're choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort, progress over procrastination, and purpose over mood. And here's the truth. Decision-making is a skill. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Each time you make a tough choice, each time you prioritize what's important over what's easy, you're training your mind to stay disciplined and focused. Think about it. Success in business, relationships, health, or personal growth all comes down to making good decisions consistently over time. When you learn to override your temporary feelings and act on what matters, you're building that variability. You begin to think long-term, to weigh the consequences, and to choose what truly aligns with your goals instead of what feels good in the moment. And that, my friends, is a real superpower. It's what helps you stay focused when distractions come, stick to your goals when temptation appears, and invest in your future instead of chasing instant gratification. Now, let's circle back to something we touched on earlier, the idea of passion. There's a common misconception that if you're passionate about something, it should always feel easy, that if you love what you do, you'll constantly feel motivated. But that's not how passion works, and it's certainly not how love works. Ask any parent if they always feel like getting up in the middle of the night for their child. Ask any entrepreneur if they always feel like tackling the endless challenges of running a business. Ask any artist if inspiration strikes every day. The truth is, it doesn't. Passion isn't about always feeling good. It's about believing in something so deeply that you're willing to endure the struggles for it. It's about caring enough to push through the doubts, the setbacks, and the fatigue. Real passion, like real love, isn't defined by the good days, but by the tough ones. It's about showing up day after day, even when it's hard, because you believe in what you're doing. And here's the beautiful thing. When you approach your passion this way, it actually grows stronger. Your commitment deepens, your love for what you do intensifies, and your purpose becomes clearer. You're no longer just enjoying the easy parts. You're embracing the entire journey, challenges and all. That willingness to engage fully, even when it's uncomfortable, transforms a casual interest into a lifelong devotion. And as we begin to wrap up, there's one last crucial point we must talk about: the importance of starting now. One of the biggest traps people fall into is waiting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for the right burst of motivation. But here's the truth: that perfect moment never comes. There will never be a time when everything feels right. No distractions, no challenges, no excuses. The real secret to success is simple. Start now. Start with what you have, where you are. Take that first small step, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if you don't feel like it. Because here's the magic: action creates motivation, and motion creates emotion. Once you start moving, even in tiny steps, momentum begins to build. And that momentum will carry you forward, even on the days when your willpower feels weak. So I challenge you, right here, right now, make a promise to yourself. Choose one important goal, one meaningful task you've been putting off. Work on it for just 15 minutes today, no matter how you feel. Then do the same tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Yes, there will be days when it feels hard. There will be moments when you'll want to quit. But if you push through those times, if you keep showing up, you'll start to see real change. You'll build momentum. You'll see progress. And most importantly, you'll start believing in yourself again. Bit by bit, day by day, you'll move closer to your goals and to the life you've always wanted. Remember, success isn't about feeling good all the time. It's not about waiting for inspiration. It's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's about being willing to trade short-term comfort for long-term growth. It's about staying committed to your goals, your dreams, and your vision, even on the days when everything feels hard. As you strengthen this ability, you'll realize you're capable of far more than you ever imagined. You'll uncover hidden strengths, achieve goals that once seemed unreachable, and tap into the incredible potential that's always been inside you. But that potential won't come alive through wishful thinking or waiting for the perfect moment. It comes to life through consistent action. You grow by pushing yourself, by showing up, by doing the work even when you don't feel like it. So don't wait. Don't postpone your future. Start today, start now. Take that first step, no matter how small. Do what needs to be done, even when your feelings resist it. Then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. That's how success is built. That's how dreams turn into reality. That's how lives are transformed. You have greatness within you. You have the power to shape your life, to reach your goals, and to make your dreams real. But that power is only unlocked through action, through discipline, persistence, and the courage to push forward when it's tough. So make that commitment today. Decide that from this moment on, you'll be someone who takes action regardless of how you feel. Be the one who pushes through resistance, who overcomes obstacles, who does what must be done. Because when you make that decision, you set your life on a new path, one filled with purpose, growth, and endless possibilities. Remember this: the pain of discipline is far lighter than the pain of regret. The discomfort of effort is nothing compared to the disappointment of wasted potential. On the other side of challenge lies everything you've ever wanted. You have the power. You have the potential. Now it's time to act. Time to become the person you were meant to be. Start today. Start now. Force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, and watch your life transform, one day at a time. Thank you for watching. I wish you health, happiness, and success. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more inspiration.